The college football playoff is set, ladies and gentlemen. The 4 teams have been selected. In this order: Michigan, number 1. Washington, Texas, Alabama. 4 conference champions. Michigan undefeated in the Big Ten. Should they be a number 1 seed? My opinion, don't think so. That's neither here nor there. I feel like the Big Ten was the worst conference in college football this year. But they're Michigan. They've got the reputation. They've got the backing of the NCAA. I mean, they're Michigan. They are the big house. They are the Wolverines. They are the team. They are one of the staples of college football. So they get the benefit of the doubt over the number 2 seed, Washington. Undefeated conference champion, Pac-12 conference. Last year, final year of the Pac-12 conference, may I add. As a Pac-12 purist, I'm just happy to see that a Pac-12 team finally makes it in the playoff. It feels like for the existence of the playoff, they have just missed by just that much getting in. Typically, it's Oregon. Oregon typically fucks it up in the conference championship game. It's typically Utah that ruins their hopes, or Washington. This year, I just think the Pac-12 was the best conference in football, and I think everybody agrees with that. At least all the experts agree with that. So no matter what, whether it was Oregon with 1 loss or Washington undefeated, Pac-12 was going to get into the playoff. I think if Oregon won, they'd be 12-1. Probably would have been a 3 seed. That's neither here nor there. It's Washington that gets in. Undefeated Pac-12 champion. 3 seed, Texas. 1 loss to Oklahoma. Probably the worst loss of all the college football playoff teams. But they sneak in at number 3. Dominating win over Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. They're moving on in the SEC next year, but in their last year, in the Big 12, they get it done. They win it all. Going to the college football playoff. Last but not least, SEC champion, 1 loss, Alabama. But here's the issue with the college football playoff. It's the reason why I wanted to talk about it at the top of this podcast. Florida State, undefeated, ACC champion, Power 5 undefeated champion, gets left out of the college football playoff. A lot of talk about this past week. Look, at the end of the day, and I think that, a lot of experts feel like Florida State, the reason why they got left out is because their quarterback, Jordan Travis, got hurt week 11. And they had 2 games without him at quarterback. And they had their second-string quarterback, Shoemaker, and then in the ACC championship game, it was their third-string freshman. I can't remember his name for the life of me, which says all you need to really say about that situation. Florida State had an amazing defense. Both teams they played in the last 2 weeks of their season, Florida and Louisville, dominating defensive performance. Didn't score a lot of points against Florida State, but their offense looked abysmal. Clearly, Jordan Travis was a big part of that. Had an amazing season. It's going to be, I would say, probably a second-round, third-round pick in the draft next year. It's very good. Interesting situation, because if you look at how the college football playoff should be picked in this way, in terms of resume, in terms of performance, resume and performance. That's really all I need to know. Florida State did everything they needed to do. Their out-of-conference games were tough games. They beat at that time, top 10 ranked LSU in week 1. Dominating win. Ran through the entire ACC. Some good opponents in the ACC this year. It was very top-heavy. The bottom half was pretty bad. Cal and Stanford are moving over to ACC next year, and as you guys know, I'm a Cal fan. I think that Cal, in my opinion, has 8 wins if they're in the ACC this season. That's how bad the bottom half of it is. North Carolina was a good team. Duke was a good team. NC State was a good team. Louisville was a good team. Beat all those teams in confident, in easy, not easy, but in convincing fashion. So if you look at that, and if you're a fan from afar of college football, you look at Florida State's undefeated record, you see who they beat, see where they're ranked all season. You're thinking this team should be in the college football playoff. Like, what the fuck is going on? at the end of the day, without Jordan Travis, that team was just not. It wasn't the best 4 teams in college football. I would argue it's not even the top 5. I think Georgia's a better team than Florida State was at the end of the season. In the past 3 years, the playoff committee has made it very clear that their motivation, their deciding factor, is they're not looking at resume and they're not looking at season long, whatever anymore. Their job is to put the 4 best teams in college football into the playoff. They did that last year with Ohio State. A lot of people felt like Ohio State did not deserve to be in the college football playoff. They got in, and them versus Georgia was basically the national championship game, it felt like, because Georgia moved on to the national championship, played TCU, who beat Michigan, and they beat the shit out of TCU in that national championship game. The Ohio State game came to literally down to the last possession. So they made the right choice last year. I think they made the right choice again this year. It's tough because, should it be Alabama or should it be Georgia? Alabama wins the conference championship game, so I feel like you have to give it to Alabama. You can't leave a conference champion Power 5 out of the playoff and put in the team that lost to them. That just kind of doesn't statistically make any sense. But at the end of the day, that was what they were going to do, because they had been doing that the past 3 years. We're just going to put the 4 best teams in college football in there. I don't care about your resume. I don't care about what you've done season long. This is just how we're going to do it, because we are trying to build the best entertainment product we can so that people will watch. If Florida State goes up against Michigan in that first round, I think a lot of people agree that's a shitty game that nobody wants to watch. It's fucking boring. It's a blowout. This game is actually going to be very interesting. And you could see it with they showed during the announcement show on ESPN, a live look in on Michigan, watching who they're playing in the college football playoff. And just a huge sigh goes to all the Michigan players, oh man, we got to fucking play Alabama. They were not happy about it, which says all you need to say about the situation. If it were Florida, they'd probably be cheering yeah, we're playing Florida in the first round. Easy. We're going to walk right into the national championship game. This is just way more fun, way more entertainment. And I think what a lot of people aren't realizing and kind of putting together in the last week about the whole selection committee situation is, at the end of the day, the college football playoff selection committee was never going to leave an SEC team out of the playoffs. Never. They were never going to do that. The SEC is anonymous with NCAA football. I would argue more than 35% of college football's audience are SEC fans. Football is life down there in the South. And if you leave out a team from that conference, you're going to lose a significant amount of your audience for this television product. Also, you're going to piss off a significant amount of your audience. So, in terms of money, in terms of entertainment, there was no world where an SEC team wasn't going to be let into the playoff. It just wasn't going to happen. They had to do it for the betterment of the entertainment of the sport. Now that brings you to Texas. Does Texas deserve to get in over Florida State? Well, Texas had the best win of the season of any team in consideration for the playoff. They beat Alabama in week 2. That's the best win. That's the best resume piece right there for any college football playoff team. So you can't leave Texas, who has the best win of the season, out of the playoff. Yes, they have the worst loss to Oklahoma, but they have the best win. That has to count for something. So that's our playoff. It's interesting. We could go all day on it. We can argue back and forth. I wanted to have someone on to talk about it, but I don't have a lot of college football fan friends that I at least watch every weekend enough to have a interesting debate about it. But yeah, again, my main point, at the end of the day, it sucks for Florida State fans. Sucks for the ACC. as a Cal fan, we're going to the ACC next year, so you just hope that things will be better in the future. But there was just no world where the playoff committee was going to leave out an SEC team. It just wasn't, because it just would have been disastrous for them, for the entertainment product. I guarantee ratings would have plummeted without a Georgia or an Alabama in there. So that's our playoff. That's all I got to say about it. All right, Logan's coming on next. We're going to talk Niners.